A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for staying tuned to Y254 TV. I hope you've been having a lovely day. We are coming to you live from Y254, and this is the Powertalk show. I am your host, Cheryl Blessing. So today's conversation is something that it's been on social media for some time, and it's one of the things that when we talk about social media, it's helped us to connect with people. We are so much more aware of what's going on in people's lives, and that also involves people's relationships. Their personal lives, their private lives, it's become something that it's public information now to some extent. So we've come across so many stories of people talking about separation, their marriages ending, their relationships ending, scandals coming about in relationships and different things. And we just want to figure out what's the cause of all these relationships ending, and how can you figure out your relationship is just about to end? Are there signs? Is there anything that you can pinpoint and say that's different? Maybe I need to take note of that. So this evening on the Powertalk show, I want us to talk about the signs that come before your relationship ending. What are some of the signs that you'll take notice of? A change in habit, maybe a change in communication pattern. What are some of the signs that you'll notice before your relationship comes to an end? And I'm joined by two experts who are going to give us some insight on this conversation. So I've been joined by a wonderful lady who is a media practitioner. I'm here with Wangari Ndungu, and she's been here before, so now it's the first time having her as a guest. Karibu sana.
Asante.
How are you doing?
I'm well.
Yeah.
I feel nice to be back home.
I know, karibu. Huku kwanza tunasemanga on Powertalk, it's a family.
It's a family.
Glantwill knows that. So yeah, we're also here with Glantwill Ruvinzu, he's a media personality, digital media creator, and he's done a lot of stuff also in regards to mental health and the field of talking to men and all that. So karibu.
Asante sana. Thank you so much for having me again and again and again.
I know.
This feels like home, just like you said. Now,
this is home.
This is home.
Si mgeni.
This is home.
Eh?
Si mgeni.
Si mgeni. Huyu amekuanga. Na hata wewe venye uko sasa utakuwa. Huyu hata jikoni tunamtuma na kukorogea chai mbio mbio.
Sasa nisikia mwenyewe.
It's quite interesting. I left here 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. Yeah. Though I was behind the cameras, now I'm in front of the cameras and I'm like, wow. Yeah. So this is how we used to make people feel. But it's quite interesting.
We're here, we're shining the light on both of you. Yeah. And I want us to get into today's conversation. I think so many people are talking about it because we are in relationships where sometimes we feel like, why is it ending? How did we get here? What has caused it? And the question I want to hear from you tonight is, what are the signs that a relationship is ending? What are some of the personal signs that you've noticed in your relationships that you felt like, okay, maybe naenda kuachwa next week? So tell us on our social media platforms at Y254. And let me get into the conversation by just throwing it to Wangari, because relationships are beautiful. Lakini siku hizi Gen Z hata hawataki story ya relationship. So what do you think? Do you think people are getting into relationships consciously, or is it because maybe unapatana na mtu alafu mnaongea alafu mnajipata hapo? Do you think people want to get into relationships these days?
I'm thinking we are on your last statement, ni kama tunajipata hapo, or probably you could be vibing with somebody on messages. You know, everything now it's on digital space. You'll probably be talking to somebody on WhatsApp. You've been status, you move the conversation, you're following each other on all social media platforms, and you feel like you know this person, you know, just by texting, just by viewing status, just by sending me a picture, and you'll think like, I think I'm in a relationship. The next thing you're calling each other babe, and the next thing, you know, you're moving a step further into this relationship. The end is always very soon. Just like the way you view that status and 24 hours is going. Yeah. Inaisha hivyo.
I like that analogy of it.
Inaisha.
Because that's
like
kind of
it ends the moment it starts.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I think so many people don't understand that about relationships. The way you start is probably the way it's going to end.
Exactly.
If you started na mamioto, sijui, you know, the passion and everything, it's probably going to burn out just as quickly.
Oh my gosh.
If you start off umeibia mtu, manzi wa mtu, sijui umechukua demu ya mtu.
Hata wewe utaibiwa.
Exactly. But then kuna hiyo yenye the important thing umesema sijasikia hapo kukiwa na conversation of are we together, are we dating?
Do people still ask each other, will you be my girlfriend?
That's what I want to know, because you know Glantville, I know, squeezy watu wanataka situationship.
No, the next day I think I'll be calling you babe, you reciprocate it with a babe.
And that's it.
Yeah, we are in a relationship.
What do you think, Glantville? Do you think people want to get into relationships? Ama ni circumstance inakuweka tu?
Kwanza nimemsikiza and I'm like, oh, okay, this is nice if people can think the way she thinks. But to be very sincere, currently relationships are not as they used to be. Yeah. Because, you know, kitambo ulikuwa unakutana na mtu organically, you fall in love with them, or you have a conversation with them, give yourself time to fall in love with them. Yeah. But at the moment, like you said, we have a digital space. So we find it to be a lot of work, and then we brought all these terms of introverts, extroverts, ambiverts, and all that stuff put together. So like, I can't go out to look out for someone. I can just be in the house and basically text someone. Or if you appear on my pages for quite some time, I'm like, this person is actually beautiful, and I'm interested to actually be with them. Yeah. So just like she said, Squeezy, we assume we are in relationships. We don't really ask each other, can I be your girlfriend? Can I be your boyfriend? It's more of, oh, you're treating me nicely. You're calling me babe. We are going out. We are shooting videos together. So let's get into a relationship. Yeah. And there's also something I want to say on what she has said about some things can start, or rather relationships usually start good, or ikiwa na hiyo moto, and they never end up well. I wouldn't say it's always the case, because it starts with intention. What was your intention? And in this case, one person is always having pure intentions. There's always one person who is serious.
And the
other person, anaonanga tu dust.
You on dust.
Na hii about sahi tu. Ini about even in the past, even previous relationship, older generations and stuff. Because you realize that some women got married out of the situations they were in. Unaona? So the man accepted them because of amekuja tu sa tukae basi.
Tuishi.
So it was not out of genuine connection. The people who really fell in love out of genuine connection can actually be counted.
Like
it's not like all of them
because story of love, I feel like we need to do a masterclass and figure out what goes on. Yeah. But before that, you've also raised another important thing. Do people even ask, can you be my girlfriend? Can you be my boyfriend?
Oh, it is.
Unajua kwanza siku hizi kila mtu ni babe. Kila mtu ni babe. You know, bro, sijui nini, wote categorized as babe. So why do you think, Wangari, we don't really ask those questions anymore? Why do you think the men are not asking? Because unajua madem tunangojanga tuulizwe. But why do you think the men are not asking? And why do you think the women are assuming, because ameniita babe, because ameniuliza umekula, now we're in love? Why do you think there's a lot of assumptions going on?
I think we have misused the word babe, because the moment he calls me babe and I reciprocate it with babe, that's it. It is done. We are in a relationship. We'll quickly edit your contact haraka from Kamau to babe, and and that's it. You assume that's how he asked or he said yes to the question. A while back, it used to take an effort of a man to probably take a lady, out for dinner or lunch or whichever activity you plan to, to share together. And then they'll pop that question. Will you be my girlfriend? Or what are we? What is this? Where are we? Where are we headed? Such questions. Yeah. But nowadays, even having to meet that person, hey, nikibarua. You will plan, and it's just a meetup, imagine. Nothing else, it's just a meetup. So that's why I said we have normalized everything on WhatsApp. Yeah. So whether I asked you Uko or I didn't ask you, or, as long as I called you babe and you called me babe the next day, we are in this thing called relationship, and that's it.
Yeah, I like that you're saying that, because it's so funny, because so many people have those virtual relationships. Tunaongeanga, like ata mnaongea often, and you have deep conversations.
So often.
You don't even meet the person. Tell us about, because wewe uko online. Wewe ni creator. Of course kuna warembo online, Instagram, TikTok. But do you consider a virtual relationship a relationship? Is it a relationship because mnaongea tu ati 6 hours You know, is that a relationship?
I wouldn't really call that a relationship because I'm one of the people who have broken up with someone online and we never met.
Nata ukumuliza kwedemia.
No,
wow.
It never got to a point of meeting physically. This person was in Baringo, I'm in Nairobi, and the distance was not really an issue.
Could have made an effort. Hata mpitane katikati.
Yeah.
The issue was not even the distance. I think with time we realized that, by the way, the things I want are not the things you want. You see? Yeah. So over time we realized that this cannot work because of A, B, C, D, Z, and then we put that aside. So, and then the other question you asked about, do people still ask each other, if you want to be my boyfriend or girlfriend and all that stuff? It has become so hard because I feel like we have become too available, both genders. Because uingi relationship peke yako mnaingia mkiwa wawili. It's a man and a woman.
Yeah.
So both genders have become too available. Like hakuna ile mambo ya chase like it used to be. We no longer need to chase.
Hata sisi hatukatai.
Amkatai.
Inakuwa tu ni direct.
Provided I'm just treating you nice.
As long as I'm texting you.
And squeezy pia kuna mambo ya type, oh you're my type. So unapata if I'm your type, you're not even going to wait for me to tell you can you be in a relationship. You're like, I like dark men, so I'm going for this one and you come for it. And as a dark man saa zingine inakuwa ngumu kukataa. So like, let's get into a relationship. Like
he had to throw it in there.
I know.
So like mnanitaka lakini siwezi wakataa.
So unasemanga let's try. Let's see where it goes. Let's vibe.
Sasa mimi nataka sasa used to cause now let's assume kwa relationship. Do you know babe squeezy? I can call even the camera operator babe. And it's something that's normalized. Lakini kuna msemo mwenye ukimuita hivyo, anajua by the way unanipenda. Umeniita venye umesema hata they change your name
we had it
on the phone. You know, kwanza alafu love
and put a love emoji.
I came across a funny thing of ati bibi yangu amenisave na love heart nyingi. Nikikosea natoa love hearts. Ati life ikiisha ni hivyo. So ati ni kama lives. But we sisi ndo tunajidate. Unajua sengine uko kwa relationship lakini wewe ndio unajidate peke yako. So how can we Wangari ukiwa unaongea na mtu, how do you gauge huyu mtu yenyewe ananitaka ama ni mimi tu nimeread?
The vibe is always there. Within the first week. You send even memes, you know. Besides the love hearts and the babes, umekula, umeoga, and then you start sharing memes. Hiyo iko semi-finals.
Mkishare memes yako natumanga. Kwani hamna wale
memes are everything.
Don't you have those guys on WhatsApp status imejaa tu memes?
Like
that's the vibe.
So you go on screenshot ndio utumie your new found boyfriend or girlfriend. So you share memes. The vibe will always be there the first day, the second day. Sometimes you could go to an extra mile of video calling. You know, you feel nice. You are in this relationship, this space that it's only you and your partner that time. Unadu nini na watch movie. You know, those are the conversation. But with time, you start realizing nilituma meme saa 5, meme imekuwa viewed saa 8.
Na
hajacheka sana, amesema hehe.
LOL.
Memes zinapungua. So ameanza kuwa busy kidogo, nililala. I mean, you know, those are the things.
Kama umekula anymore.
He doesn't care or she doesn't care. By the time you get into the second week, another person has shown interest also. Hata anatuma meme, so you concentrate on the other one. The other one hata ambiangu ilisha.
But then at the end of that, how many boyfriends do you wind up having?
You have one at a time, but it ends so soon.
One at a time.
One at a time. But the moment your memes pungua, another one is up in the game. So you leave that person. There is no I don't want to see you again. Oh, God will punish you for leaving me. You have ruined my life and my time. Exactly. There's nothing like that. You move silently. I think my last relationships in zile nimemove pole pole. Bila kelele, bila drama.
Like, Wangari nimenotice wewe conversations ni kama you don't have these conversations. Because that's what I want to get into. What's up tutaingilia hapo?
Wangari akona chai.
Niliwaambia mniwekee serviette in case nitoe bubble hapo.
Ukilia tuko hapa. Just sasa I'm wondering, unaona ukisema hivyo, najaribu kupicture mtu mwenye yes mnaongeanga naye but wewe huyo ni best yako. Unajua kuna mse mwenye anakutumia memes unacheka. Wewe unatuma memes baby uko like atacheka.
Memes ka relationship ndo zimeshikilia. Hiyo ndo foundation.
But sasa hajakuuliza. What do you think about that? Because you know you're on social media. I feel like when you're a public figure, mtu akikudia, unajua kuna ule mse mwenye hata mtaongeanga mpaka anakuambia you know by the way nimego through this at work na una bond naye cause
do people still talk about what happened at work? I could even be dating you and I don't know what you do.
Oh my God.
It's normal. Why are you surprised?
I'm surprised.
We need to get into that.
I'm not judging.
Why
I'm just
surprised?
surprised.
That's what the tea is. Tell us
that's
first
the
of
tea.
all.
Wow.
Glantville, what do you think?
Honestly, if I was to send you a meme and you don't react to it, mi unaweza ruin day yangu.
Did I tell you memes the foundation?
Yeah, you ruin my day.
Mtu mwenye uko interested in ama mtu random?
No, mtu niko interested in, mtu niko achana watu random, we ignore sometimes the reels. You're like, this is too much. But unajua, it's not just about sending the reel ama the meme. It's about how they react, because there's a way in your mind umesha perceive the way umse anafaa cheke. Because this is something the two of you can relate.
Alafu akwambia hata niliona last
ama iko tu scene kwanza umetuma IG so inakuonesha tu scene alafu kwa WhatsApp anakuambia vitu zingine
I'm breaking up with you.
Definitely yes, this relationship it's toxic. It's very toxic. You are inconsiderate. You don't consider
my feelings.
You don't consider my feelings.
Naona mbona relationships zina end if these are the examples. But then I'm wondering, because you know we're usually told you have to have those difficult conversations. I personally feel like relationship kama hujaniuliza mimi sikujui, hata kama tunaenda sijui umenipeleka dinner sijui ngapi, if you haven't asked me mimi nakuja, nitavaa nguo, nitakaa smart, I will eat and I will go home. But if you haven't asked will you be my girlfriend, who are you?
When was the last time you asked will you be my girlfriend?
All my relationships have been asked that, and I do not consider myself like I'm dating some. I do not consider myself to be in a relationship without that question, because I feel like your swali inaonyesha intention. You said something bluntly about the intention, because these days unajua venye tumeongelea with social media tuko na options. You have like types wako wanapita Nairobi archives, ukiangalia umeona types 200 at least, you know. But then if your type has not made the move to ask you, then does your type really want you? Are you your type's type? So that's the thing I ask myself. But why do you think, Wangari, why do you think you don't have those conversations? Do you think you can even initiate a conversation of what are we? Ama where is this going?
Yeah, I will initiate those conversations, because hata mimi ninataka kuwa na msimamo where we are going, where we are. I think it's only circumstances and Nairobi. Watch out, we blame it on Nairobi. Kanairo. I just made us realize we are in a relationship because we share memes.
Wow.
You know, I like how our parents approached this whole thing of dating, marriage, and 30 years down the line or whichever number of years they are still together. It's because they were so intentional. It's because they wanted to know how many siblings do you have, who is your mom, what does she do, such small details that we are not brushing it off at our age. I don't remember when I asked somebody who is interested or who is pursuing me, how many siblings do you have? But remember the time when our parents were in this game, they are probably asking, so you are number 3 or number 4 in your family? Small details like kwetu tuko hivi, kwenyu mko hivi, which church did you grow up in, such things. Right now, things are so different. Again, we have normalized the digital space. Mimi nikikuona uko PCA Kahawa Farmers, I'm assuming that's where you worship, and probably I'm just there on an invite. If I watch your status nione kama sai Shelly ako kwa TV, maybe that's where she works. I'll assume or I'll just say kako job.
And this is where the problem begins.
And this is where the problem is. So if you don't ask those questions, whether difficult, hard questions, uncomfortable questions, where do you see yourself 5 years to come? If life turn take a turn on this end, will you be okay? Do you think if today I lose my front teeth, utanipenda bado? Will you still look at me and say, oh, she's still beautiful?
Imenikumbusha zile maswali tunaulizanga ati babe ningekuwa
You know those
cockroach ungenidate.
Yeah, you know those questions that we used to, they are asked on an interview, during an interview. Who are you?
Yeah.
Tell us who you are. Can we normalize having those questions as an interview?
Sindio.
Tell me who is Wangari, what does Wangari see in the next 5 years, in the the quarter year? What is your end goal by 2027,
Yeah.
If we start approaching relationships from that angle, then tutacha easy relationships are memes.
Sindio.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to get into. Let me also, I'll throw it to you, Glantwill. I want to hear from you as well as we continue with this conversation. Story, it's a very interesting story. But I want to hear from you. What are some of the signs that if you know it in your relationship, you know it's about to end? Or tumekaribia mwisho. Tuko karibu, huyu anaenda kuniacha next week. So what are the signs that you take note of in your relationship and you realize it's probably about to end? And looking at what we're talking about, the foundation of a relationship ni important. So unajua foundation ikikosa the questions that actually matter, then when you find out 3 years later, uko like, by the way, huyu hapana. And these days we really avoid those conversations. And you've also brought around an important conversation of our information being on social media. Mimi naweza post niko Karen. Na napostingi tu niko Karen. Maybe naendanga tuko kukunywa kahawa, ni post ndio watu wajue naishi huko. But then someone will assume she lives in Karen. And the way we've said, we assume a lot based on the information that people put on social media. But we don't realize people put information on social media to create an image. It's about branding. So what's the implication of mtu ameassume wewe kwa social media huyo ndo wewe? Because unajua labda you have a personality, you're a comedian, unachekeshanga watu, lakini in real life you're a serious person. You know you're not even about that life. But mtu anakuja na expect umchekeshe kwa nyumba because nimeona unachekeshanga watu. So what do you think? What's the implication of people just assuming what I've seen online is who you are?
I want to answer that, but before I answer that, before I forget, I want to go back to what you just said about, and what you said also, about having those difficult conversations. It's so hard for people to have these difficult conversations because 99.999% of people don't know exactly what they want.
Can I correct
You're part
you?
of the 0.1% who know what they want.
Yeah.
Wait, can I correct you?
Yeah.
Not difficult, but uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable,
Yeah.
that's the word.
Yeah, that's the word, uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Yes.
uncomfortable. It's because 99.99%, like I said, of people don't even know exactly what they want.
Yeah.
So they're still trying to figure it out. That's why sometimes it comes out unclear when it comes to these relationships. And that's why you don't even get a clear picture of what exactly they want with you because they don't even know what they want with themselves. And that is why if you ask someone, what do they want 5 years from now, 10 years from now, they can't tell you because they don't really know. So they're always out here just looking for a surprise, like what does life have to offer me 10 years later?
Yeah.
Now, going back to social media now, what you were saying about people posting, I would give myself as an example, as an influencer. There are certain things I would not post, and there are certain things I would post. I would only post things that will promote me as an influencer to attract brands. You get it? So if somebody is to base that and use that to determine or understand my personality, they're only going to get 1% out of it. So what that usually does is when you come into my real life now, unapata kumbe umse anapikaga omena. Kumbe
Na hiyo ndio staple yake.
na hiyo ndio staple food yake.
Yukula fulu every day.
Now social media ni pizza burger.
Na kwake ni fulu.
Nimeenda Ole Sereni, I've taken like 100 pictures, maybe even had extra clothes. So I took pictures that I'm
Every
dropping.
week.
Yeah, that I'm dropping once in a while, just once in a while. I took even videos. So you see that and you are interested in that. And that's another reason why relationships are not working, because you fall in love with my life online, forgetting that I am trying to build a brand. Juu pia pale na try kusema, I don't want to look like a chokora, because if I'm going to pitch and I'm going to charge this amount of money, there's no way my page is going to look like omena and fulu. Because how are you asking us for $500,000 and you are eating fulu, you know?
On a daily.
On a daily. unatupima ama nini. So basically that's usually just an image you're putting out there, and like you said, it's purposely for branding. So people usually fall for that. I've had that experience. That somebody comes and like, kumbe unanga do, you're like, yes, unanga do. Imagine a hustle.
And I like that you've brought around that perspective, because I think we all need to understand. Maisha ya mtu social media, mtu atakuonyesha the best. Only few people will show you the very worst of what they're going through or their day-to-day routines. Mtu akikuonyesha ko Kempinski leo, kesho sijua kwa wapi, usijeke pressure, because you never really know.
Absolutely.
And one of the uncomfortable conversations, as we were talking about that, it's finances. Finances ndo zimefanya ma relationships zimeisha. You know, people see, you know, maybe nimebaiwa bouquet na gari imefungwa na ka red ribbon. Ukienda nyumbani Glantville wanakuwekea pressure. Gari yangu iko wapi? Hata kama ni ka Alto, kako wapi? And we've set some superficial standards, and sometimes, especially for us women Wangari, tunataka kupelekwa Maldives, but hata hatujaifika hata Zanzibar. Hata Jambo Jet hatujui color ya viti ni gani inside the jet. And unfortunately, sometimes you're dating someone and they provide a certain lifestyle. Alafu economy venye iko, economy kidogo ina affect mfuko ya mpenzi wako. Alikuwa nakupeleka Naivasha every weekend. Now all of a sudden you have to go to ni wapi Kiamaiko ama sijui ni wapi
kwa Karuse.
Pale sijui Kamakis. You know, and it's not like your partner does not want to provide all that for you. It's just that the circumstances. Na unajua for us ladies, hapo kwa pesa ndio inakuanga ngumu for us to understand.
I think I have a different conversation around it. Nowadays women have more money. It's not statistically proven.
I'm not saying we don't have more. I'm talking about money being spent in a relationship. Because women make more money. A woman can be a millionaire, but attend a date na chali yake ndo atalipa bill.
Well, it's
but they're making more money at the expense of men, and that's I'm sure we are not ready to have that discussion.
But the thing is, realistically, 80% of the female population, regardless of their net worth, regardless of how much they're making, we expect the man to provide. Tunataka men who provide, men who pay bills, men who go above and beyond.
It's really proven that men, the provision part is for men.
Sijakata? Swali ni, pesa yake ikianza kupunguka. Ama pesa yes, alikuwa income ni 200k. But 200k 2 years ago ilikuwa ina make sense. Saizi labda akona investments so anabaki na 50 kwa mfuko. So you're feeling like, hey, you're not spending on me as much as you used to. Maybe you used to give me an allowance of 30k, hata sayo unipatido, or things like that. So those things can affect relationships. And sometimes women, we don't want to accept that. We don't want to support our men when they're at their lowest. I've had so many conversations of influencers saying they're even disgusted by broke men, which is a reach. But people actively do that every single day. They're like, oh, you don't have money? Cancelled. So tell us about that. Like the implication of that on a relationship. Mejenga kitu 5 years, unajua mtu ako stable. But economy, you know, the crisis may come in, alafu kidogo ayuko as stable as he used to be. What about that?
I think it narrows down at the genesis of that relationship. Those uncomfortable truths, those uncomfortable questions, did you put them on the table and say, this is where I am, this is where I purpose to be in the next 1 month, in 1 year, in 10 years? Can you stick by me as I go through these phases? When you have a conversation surrounding that, then every storm or any tide that come, I think you will sail through. When you table your issues and say...
Na unaweza kubali. Let's say, I'm not saying like a broke man, but a man who's not as financially secure as you imagine your partner to be. Unaweza kubali mwanamume amekuja kuambia, honestly babe, lifestyle yenye tunaishi lazima to cut down, siwezi sustain anymore. Can you stay in that relationship?
Aki babangu ako uhai.
Unasema unarudi kwenyu?
Unarudi kwa daddy. No, anyway. The conversation is when you lay down those conversations of where I want to be, where I wish to be. This is what I do. This is probably what I generate, and this is what has been sustaining me to this to where I am. I have this vision, and I am thinking in the next 1 year or so I'll be here and here, because everyone has a plan or a vision of success ahead of them. But tragedy comes. We were happy in 2018, 2019, not knowing that 2020 will all be at home because of lockdown. So it is the same thing when we're starting this conversation, this thing called relationship. I'm happy I can buy your breakfast at Java. Tomorrow I can take you to Kempinski and all that. But what happens if one day I wake up and my leg cannot function, and I have to channel some of these funds for medical purposes and all that? Will you still stand next to me until I'm well again? Because as much as you go down, you'll always rise.
Yeah, it's definitely important to have.
So everything goes back to the first day you met and said, what are you bringing on the table? What am I bringing on the table? I think that's the question that we should all be asking ourselves as we move forward. Yeah. As a Wangari, what am I bringing on the table? Him probably as Minor, what are you bringing on the table? Yeah. Because things have changed. A while back, women, when you wish to marry, for men, they used to get you from your dad's home. They probably used to jump over the fence or call you Napo when you maps because your father is around or your mother is around. Things have changed. Now I have my kids here. Even if I live here at 12, I'll go open my door. Nobody will ask me a question. I can afford a microwave, I can afford a fridge, I can afford this electronics. Yeah. So it goes back if I come to your house and you still have the same things, it's nothing new. Yeah. It's nothing new. It's nothing new under the sun. I can also afford. I like that. I want us to just take a break on that note and then come back and get into, because I want us to talk about some prime examples of relationships that we've seen ending. You know, we thought they were going to last forever. We thought they were fairy tales. We thought, hey, awa kama umepatana after your wedding, hawezi achana. But tukasikia wameachana. So let's come back and figure out some of the signs that you can pinpoint and take note of that will show you your relationship is almost ending. Meanwhile, go on our platforms at Y254 across all social media platforms and let us know what are some of the signs that you noticed before your relationships came to an end, any of your past relationships. Ata beshte yako, tebu signs gani ulikuwa unaona unasema dem anaenda kuachwa. So go on our platforms, let us know. We'll sample the comments when we come back.
Y254. Imagine.